Hey everybody, William Miller, National Brand Manager. Really excited to be here with Chad Olinger. Chad, you are the Director of Customer Relations. I want everybody that's watching to understand very clearly. Chad, you've tasked me and challenged your entire team to start, we want to do even more for our customers going into 2021. One of the things that you and I realize in conversation, many people do research on the coach that they want to purchase. I think there's a huge opportunity for us within our company to start leading in transparency, communication. Even though we provide the documentation, I want us to start doing videos so people understand whatever they buy. Of course, in this case, we hope that they buy a Shadow Cruiser. These are a significant investment. And that's why you've done so many things in a proactive standpoint for our customers to be happy with their purchase after the sale. When it comes to an RV, the most important thing that needs to happen to ensure happiness for your investment is maintenance. So I've asked you today, us as the manufacturer, to in fact talk about today sealing and protection from issues with water.
Correct. Yes.
So we're going to get started. So we all know that water is public enemy number one when it comes to an RV. So can you talk about, from your seat, us as the manufacturer, for our customers, what is the thing that they want to be looking for when they get started with the maintenance or the sealing process?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me today. I'm really excited to be talking about this kind of stuff because this is extremely important for all RV owners. Whether you're a brand new owner or you've owned several, it's always the same. Maintenance is the key to happiness in your ownership, really. So basically, if I look at this Shadow Cruiser and I can see just in the first 1/3 of the front of the trailer how many different pieces are coming together here. So at all of these places where the sidewall meets this front trim and the front cap, where this baggage door is installed, where this piece is put on here, where even these simple little latches are put on, all of those areas are potential water infiltration points. So we have a job to do as a manufacturer to try and make sure that we keep water out. But we can only have that work for so long because we only have this in our control for so long. So we need the customer to see what we're doing and then actually imitate what we're doing after ownership. So these sealants that we put on here at this sidewall where it meets this trim and cap, and right here over the baggage doors, this sealant is only warranted for 90 days. There's a reason for that. You have weather, you have movement, our roads are great throughout the country, right?
Sure.
So you have a lot of bad roads that are being traveled on. This stuff all moves a little bit here and there. So this sealant can become worn out, it can get a little weak, weather can affect it, those types of things. So every 90 days at least, we ask that you check these seals, make sure that they're good, okay? And you don't want little voids. Even a little void will let some water potentially get into that. So we use sealant on these areas as our primary seal. So that's what you can see as a customer, and that's what you can help with. Now underneath all this, there's a secondary seal that we use here as a manufacturer, but that's not something that you can maintain. That's just a second line of defense. We don't want to use that if we don't have to. We'd much rather these primary sealants be your ultimate success of keeping your...
Now, so Chad, one thing that I want to make sure that I understand as well, because as you know, new to the industry, listening to the voice of the customer, looking at all the things that you're implementing, I'm learning a lot in terms of making sure our communication and message is getting out, and also listening and understanding what the customer's challenges are. You had said about every 90 days, but I want to be clear. Some people are traveling a lot more than others. Some people buy their coach, family goes on a trip, then they're home for 6 weeks. There are others that they buy this coach and they're week to week to week because of the pandemic or whatever else. So would you agree that yes, we say as a manufacturer every 90 days as a base, however, if you're somebody that's going to be using the RV or the coach a lot, every week you're on the road with a lot of vibration and movement and exposure to 80-mile-an-hour side winds, those things, we would recommend then, of course, you spend more time, maybe 30 to 60 days, depending on use as well, correct?
Absolutely. Just like a car. If you use a car more often, you're going to need an oil change more often. Right?
Sure, yep.
Same thing here, same thing applies. The more you use it, the more opportunities are going to exist for things to break down or things to have some sort of issue or opportunity to get right again.
Now, something else that I want to point out, back to the 90 days. So just so everybody understands, we go through a process at Cruiser RV. You're going to see this video. It should be available here soon. But we made a video that outlined the 5-step final audit inspection that we go through to make sure that everything was built to spec. And then at that point, we use a third party. So we don't manually deliver these coaches across the country. And I'm saying this to be clear with everybody listening so we all understand. We build the coaches. We go through our entire audit and inspection process. It gets signed off at that time, meaning it meets everything to our standard on our build code. The 90 days, it is possible for a customer to go to Tennessee or Colorado or California, because we don't know how fast this unit's going to sell, that it could already have surpassed potentially 90 days. So that's why you called upon me to say, hey, let's start using this opportunity going into 2021 so that all of you know that when you buy a coach, please make sure you know if you're at 90 days. And I would suggest as soon as they purchase the coach or even on the lot, they have the right to start looking at the things that you pointed out to see if right away when we purchase, as a family, we have to go through and do the maintenance.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
All right, Chad, so obviously I understand now anywhere there's a seam, obviously around the window we're gonna check. Where else is really important, or maybe some additional information that you think it's good for us to share with our customer base?
Well, one thing outside of the actual sealants themselves, you're sealing the unit from the elements in different ways in an RV. You have large slide outs in almost every RV nowadays, right? So how this slide out box is installed, you have a frame like a window frame, and then you put the box inside. So there's always a gap around that frame and the box itself. That gap is covered with these sealants right here. We call them wipe seals. It's a double layer wipe seal, so there's a wipe seal on the exterior and a wipe seal on the interior.
Okay.
Now these wipe seals are just made of rubber. So one thing that I really urge customers to do is pay attention to these wipe seals. Make sure there's no rips, there's no tears, there's nothing like that in there, because the elements can push through that stuff and get into the coach. It is a double layer, so it's a little bit harder for the elements to get through, but if there's rips or tears in this, you've got problems.
Sure.
The other thing is, it's rubber. We all know what happens to rubber over time through weather and all sorts of elements from the outside, is this can break down. So there are sealants out, or there's seal maintenance sprays out in the marketplace, okay? And they're specifically geared towards rubber seals on RVs, specifically made for the RV industry. That stuff can be sprayed on these seals and wiped off, and it helps treat those seals, helps them last longer, and then it ensures that we don't have to worry about changing out these seals over time. Because these aren't the easiest thing to change. You probably won't want to do that on your own. It's not an easy maintenance thing.
Sure. Now, and as far as using that other sealant option, because we're not tied to a specific brand, what should the customer be looking for? Like, will it be like a silicone base? Is there aftermarket products that will say 4 slide outs?
It does. It specifically says 4 slide out seals.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's specifically based or geared towards the rubber type seals, like pretty much all of them.
And as I said too in the intro of this video, this is also going to be dictated by how often they're using the unit, right? Meaning this will degrade faster if they're constantly using the slide outs, or if there's an excessive amount of travel. So the recommendation again for our baseline is based on use. So if you're using it a lot, definitely want to check these, because as you have shared with me, a lot of the leaks and moisture issues and things like that really do happen with these. And even though as a manufacturer, we design these and build these as best as we possibly can, but understanding just the dynamics of nature and everything else, that's why we're saying in this video to give the added caution and address this as a priority when you're going through the maintenance process.
That's correct.
All right, so I'm going to step out of frame, but there's some other things that are important that you want to point out in this video.
Yes. So other things that you really want to pay attention to when you're talking about maintenance and general care of your RV, you always want to look for moving parts, and if there's metal on metal, or if there's any kind of constant movement through a part. So anytime this slide out moves, obviously there's a lot of moving parts that go into this. So right here you have a gear pack. This is tied to a rack and pinion system. It's got a metal gear on the inside, so you've always got metal on metal when this slide moves in and out. These are really important to keep clean and to try and keep lubricated with just like a PTFE lubricant. There are lots of lubricants out on the market, aftermarket, for lubricating these types of systems. But you want to make sure these are clean and free of large debris so it doesn't get into the gear pack and things like that. Same with your suspension system, which you might be able to see back behind me there a little bit. But you always want to inspect that and make sure that you're not seeing any loose bolts or anything like that. And that's good for every trip, not just every once in a while. That's really good to get in the habit of doing that every trip.
So we're continuing around the entire coach. Anything that is, on the exterior of the coach, they need to check for sealants. So we're looking at the lights, the windows, even on the roof. Now I have 2 sealants here, and I think it's important for the customers to know they may need to use 2 different ones. So can you explain what the differences are between the 2 sealants that we recommend?
Yeah, absolutely I can. So this is, we use a GSL 2300. This is an RV sealant. It's for the exterior that is mainly used around your windows, your baggage doors, in the areas on these edges.
Okay.
So this is kind of a sidewall,
okay,
almost like a vertical type application.
For everything on the perimeter.
Everything here
okay,
that you would see. Now if you get up on the roof, you're going to see a different type of sealant. Now that type of sealant is called a self-leveling sealant. And what this does, this is meant to go on in a little bit thicker application.
Okay.
And then it's raised up when you first apply it, and then over just a few minutes time it just settles down. So that's for like where you're installing your roof vents, maybe around TV antennas if they're up on the roof, things like that. That's where you're going to see self-leveling sealant. And it'll look flat, but it doesn't go on flat. It goes on thick and flattens out over time. And you'll see, if you go up on a roof for one of these, you'll see all the screw holes self-leveling. You'll see all around your vents self-leveling. That's what is used all the way across the back where the roof meets the rear wall, where the roof meets the front wall. This is the type of sealant that you would use there.
Awesome. So Chad, you weren't kidding. You're talking every window, even all the doors we're going to be looking. Anywhere on the exterior, right? Around here.
Yeah, even this. Something as small as, like you pointed out, this has got a bead of sealant right on the top of it. People may not notice that unless we actually point that out to them, but everything on the exterior of this unit is going to have to be sealed because it's been installed in a hole at some point. So you want to make sure we plug the hole, we seal around it.
Awesome. So Chad, we took time, we're explaining to all the viewers, when they buy a coach, 90-day warranty on the seals. I recommend as soon as they buy their coach, they're going to go through and check all of these. You also explained, the other areas of the coach that they need to look at. We outlined the 2 different type of sealants that we recommend in the maintenance. If by chance, somebody that's watching this says, okay, I understand why, I understand that if we're traveling a lot more, then maybe 90 days isn't enough. We should be looking every 30 to 60 days. There were some things that you pointed out that you check before every trip. If people are not comfortable to do the sealing process their own, and we are not recommending a specific company, but will a cruiser RV authorized dealer or service center, will there be some out there in North America that will do this as a fee, but will do this for those that are camping as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sure almost every dealer that I've ever talked to has a program in place where they will have the customer come in to get the unit resealed or any types of those issues, that are regular maintenance issues. If they come up, they will work with the customer to get those things accomplished.
And that being said, my hope is that this video is value to a lot of you that maybe didn't know. And also too, if people have additional questions and they're not comfortable, please use this video as a resource. But if at the very end, or they just have a quick question maybe on the roof, or hey, do we do it on all the screws, those types of things, what would be the next recourse to allow you and your team to further support them?
The best thing to do if you have questions is to go to the Cruiser RV website. There is our customer service phone numbers, our customer service emails. You can call in, you can email in. We have a chat feature on there. You can ask any of those questions in any of those methods, and we'll do the best to respond to you quickly.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.